You guys ready? They're ready. Guys, I'm Robert Hamm with Robert Hamm Photography. Today I want to talk to you about something a little special. That's Hamm Camera Company and the camera, the Hamm Cam that we're coming out with. So if you're ready, let's get started. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit longer, and I'm just going to try to answer some common questions and tell you a little bit about what's going on with Hamm Camera Company and this box camera that I'm developing. I'm going to be sharing with you things about why I got started, how I'm going to accomplish this goal, and what it is that I'm really trying to do here with this camera. And I think you're going to have an enjoyable time along the way. This is going to be really straight from the hip, no editing, one take, one shot, one kill, as they say. And this also is going to kick off one other thing, a weekly Feature Friday update on Hamm Camera, because there's so much going on with Hamm Camera. There's so much going on with the box camera, the box is back, and I just wanted to let you guys know that it just doesn't fit in the morning meeting for Mondays anymore. So there will be a new show, a weekly update on the Hamm Camera. So I guess it's time to get over and get going. I actually took some notes. You know, I've had a bunch of questions coming in about this camera, and we're going to show you some pictures of it, but we really got to get started with where it kind of like it all began. And I want to let you know that it really has some humble beginnings. You know, people see this. I showed them this camera out on the street when I'm in my neighborhood, and it is film ready, taking pictures with it. And the developer preview is getting ready to ship within the next 2 weeks. So those that are in part of that closed developers preview will be able to actually see what this camera is capable of. And I'm waiting for that big reveal. It's going to be great. And image quality is outstanding for a box camera, and it's really outstanding for any modern type of camera. So I'm excited about that. And before we go any further, the humble beginnings start with me, right? It starts with me. About a year ago, taking apart cameras because I have some old rangefinders, some old Olympus cameras that just didn't work anymore, and I wanted to take them apart and enjoy using them. That's kind of how I got started on this journey. You know, I've always been a tinkerer. I've always been one of those guys that just kind of picks something up and uses it and goes through with it. And then if it breaks, my dad always taught me to fix what you've got. There's no need to go out and buy a new washer just because your heating element goes out. Get out a multimeter, test it, and go do it. And that's something that's kind of lost in America right now. We're such an instant gratification society that, you know, I think that something like photography can help us with that. I think making a camera, I think developing your own film, I think not taking 1,000 photos on a digital camera and then picking your best one, I think that can really help you shine. I think it can teach us patience. And it can teach us how to use our brain. And so the Hamm camera was born out of that same kind of do-it-yourself kind of feeling. And that's where it started, like I said, about a year ago, actually a little over a year ago, fixing an Olympus 35 RC. And that was really cool. But I noticed when I was doing that, I got thinking about cameras. You know, don't get me wrong, I love digital. I mean, I shoot digital. I'm a working wedding photographer. It would be difficult to go back to shooting just film for weddings because there are great advances in technology. But there are some limitations too, like we lose the art and the aesthetic of it. And so I wanted something unique in photography that wasn't there. And I didn't really know what I was looking for, but I had always played with pinhole cameras and stuff like that. I saw some Kickstarters that were about pinhole cameras, and there were some things that looked neat. But I was at my grandmother's house one day. I was talking with Uncle George at grandmother's house. He went out to do some errands. My boys were playing outside, and I passed by a cadet, like A2, it was like just an AGFA camera, a box camera that was my grandmother's, takes 127 film, and I just picked it up off the shelf. Now, I have seen box cameras thousands of years, plenty of times, but I never really thought too much of it. But I picked that camera up and I looked through the ground glass and I saw an image, although smudgy and dirty, but I saw an image and it just sparked my attention. I was like, oh my goodness. Now, I'd seen ground glass before and TLRs and stuff like that, but never had I was holding this thing, this little tiny box, and I took it outside in the sunlight, and I just watched my kids run by, and I saw it on that little tiny screen, the ground glass, and it was just amazing. Any of you that doesn't know about ground glass, that's okay. Go check it out. But it was just a remarkable experience. And then I took it inside, and I took it apart, and I started cleaning it up and getting rid of the grime and everything. And I looked, and I realized, I can do this. I said, I can make this camera. I said, that's what has been on my mind. That's what I want. That's what I want, a modern box camera. See, there's something simple about a box camera. A box camera is the way families chronicled their history for years, 80 years almost. 1870s all the way out, the 1940s. People still used box cameras. They had twin lens cameras. Of course, there was always something bigger and better around the corner. But mom and dad, right? Grandmother and grandfather, those people photographed their families with a Kodak Brownie or something of the like, a box camera. And how crazy is it that my grandmother's got pictures of my father when he was 6 months old, 3 months old, born in 1949. She's got pictures of him taken with that box camera I was holding on to. That's crazy. But it needed some update, and I realized I could be the person to do that. So I started my journey, and that's where we are. I had a simple vision going on to it, and that's this is really what it developed into, that I wanted to create a quality camera, first of all. Something that's really quality, with a modern innovations based on that original inspiration. And that's not just marketing speak. That's true. I was inspired by the box camera, and I have innovated to make it better. And I also realized that that's not enough. Like I was talking about earlier, I mean, if you just went to your grandmother's house, picked up a box camera, and then decided to make one and had one, a real one, your friends would call you a genius and smart and wonder if you knew something about calculus. But that's not the case. I'm not any of those things. I'm just like you watching this video. I just decided I wanted to do something about it, and I did. So it took me a lot of time to put this together, hours of work, thousands of dollars to get this thing moving. And where we are today is in a great position. And I've done it all right here in the room. This has been my workshop. I wanted to bring, however, something more to it. I wanted to make something beautiful that created something with quality, that also brought that art aesthetic back, and the nerdiness of the do-it-yourself community. I wanted to kind of blend those. And so one cool thing about Hamm Camera is that the company itself will be based on forums that are user-powered, right, with moderators, with ambassadors that are with real feedback back and forth, so that we can not only talk about how to get great pictures with this camera, but we can also develop new lenses and things that go along with the camera. So there will be a DIY community launching with this that coincides with the actual website. So first-person support through myself, as well as other users that will really help grow the camera. And the movement was pretty simple. I just wanted the DIY, which is usually considered kind of nerdy, to meet the artistic world, which is usually considered kind of aloof, and kind of come together and meet in the middle, so we can get grounded, but we can get beautiful design as well. And so, continuing on, everybody always wants to know how. How did you do this? And we talked about that. The simple answer, guys, I just did it, okay? I just did it. It wasn't anything special. I didn't go to class. I mean, I've been to college and I consider myself educated, but I got a business degree, and I just wanted this, so I did it. I just did it. Now, if you're having a problem just doing it, if you can't think of how someone could just make a camera, man, you got a problem. And the problem is not with your ability to do it. The problem is with your ability to believe you can do it. I just didn't give up. That's all that happened. I just continued. And I play a little game with my kids, and I ask them, I say, look at that tree, look at that building, look at this. And I ask them, how do you think you got there? And that's important, because this may sound stupid. You may guys just fast forward to this. But that's the same kind of thing that I've talked about with my family. That's, I got architects and developers and builders in my family and stuff like that. And so the question is, how did that tree get there? If the tree is 100 feet today with big branching limbs and everything else, how did it get there? Well, it started somewhere. And where did it start? It needed to get through winters in order to get there. It needed to get through hot summers and droughts. It needed to get through freezing times. Maybe even had to get through a fire. And that's all as the tree is growing. So we start with where the tree is. We're just backwards planning it, just figuring out all the struggles it went through to get there. May have had an infection of carpenter bees or something. Who knows? Crazy beavers too. And it had to survive all of that. And then it had to survive long enough to be planted. And maybe it was planted by a person. Maybe it was planted by droppings of a bird or something like that. Who knows? But the concept is to just do it. So if you want to just do it, you have to look at something and think about what it went through to get to where it is today. And that's where you can start. Then that's how I started. In fact, when I did start my first design for the box camera, I didn't even study the box cameras that were out there. I just decided to start drawing and sketching box cameras. I think it's got to work. And I thought to myself, what is this? What does it look like? Yada, 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 yada. I sketch. And after I had a bunch of sketches, right, I then decided to start modeling in 3D in SketchUp. And man, I knew nothing about it. And I don't really know much about SketchUp now. All I needed to know how to do was make boxes, make squares, make a couple circles. And through there, I learned more about how to make cams and how to make different shapes of things. But this was all before I even really opened up and started analyzing what people had done in the past with box cameras. And then I got one printed. I made it. And I was able to compare what I thought, all that work I put into thinking compared to what the actual was, and find the discrepancies. And the cool part was I knew then what I didn't need to work on to improve, because the things that were right were right. The things that were wrong were the only things that need to be fixed. And then it was just refine, redesign, build, refine, redesign, build. And that just continued until where we are today. Just a couple of facts for you. Over 4 main body designs. This thing right here, these things, the main body, over 40 main body designs. That's crazy. 30 cartridge designs. This thing right here, people want to know about the cartridge. I got stuff about this cartridge which is very important. And there are some reasons why people want to know. There are some drawbacks to using a box camera. There's some specific design considerations. And there's some things that I've done with my box camera that actually are intellectually sound. There's part of my property that I'm in the process of making sure I'm protected with when I go to market with this thing, because I've come across some very unique design things that aren't anywhere else out there. And that's not even speaking of the modular design. Don't even ask me how many times I rebuilt the knobs. Man, these knobs, where'd I put them? Man, I went through these knobs so that they would have the right feel, the right finish so many times, and they feel great now. I tested them with different people. I asked them to grab a box of knobs and do which one, these little winding keys, which feels better. Why do you like this? Why do you like that? I blindfolded them, everything. And guess what? Now I've got beautiful winding keys that work. How cool is that? Each camera, there's 4 lenses in each camera. Okay? Not that any particular part uses all 4, but there are 4 lenses that make the camera work. In every single camera, not including the shutter block, the torsion springs, ground glass, and mirrors. Guys, let me say that again. 4 lenses in each camera. The shutter block, the torsion springs, ground glass, and mirrors. Goodness. Hey, look, just to start with, I want to remind you that I'm 3D printing these in my house right here. Here's one right here. And 3D printing doesn't mean cheap like it used to. I'm able to produce this with this great texture, with this awesome feel. And although it's a simple design, it's a very sophisticated engineering problem that I had to solve to make this thing work. And it's pretty elegant. And I kept it simple, man. I kept it simple. But it works. That's the cool thing. So when you think about it, it's not really ever about the process. I guess it's always about the process. It's not about the product. That's what I meant to say. And so when designing this, I realized it had to have a feel, it had to have a look to it. And I don't even think about it. I think of myself as like a craftsman weaving in acrylic and plastic, you know, because that's the type of beauty that goes into this thing. And later on, I'll put it together and show it to you. So what's involved in the operations? Right now, there's a team of 3 of us that get this done. George, myself, and the newest member of our team, Andre. And Andre is our social media manager. George is the design and marketing manager. He puts all the design things together, has the final word on what the actual product looks like. He doesn't particularly like the blue. I love it, but that's okay. And myself, I'm the one getting it out there, working with the words and designing this so that it works. Okay, the packaging when it shows up, that's going to be George. You know, if I get on a podcast somewhere, that's going to be Andre. And if you see me standing in front of you talking about the camera, well, that's all me, baby. Okay. And so it's just a small team. In fact, I'm still looking for a couple people in the team. If you're watching this, and if you're a lawyer, I need a general counsel that can help me with patents and stuff. That's a big deal. I need a chief strategist and business development officer on the team right now. So these are things that I'm looking for. And these are things that I'm actively interviewing for, because we've got $1 million idea right here. You know, we've got a product right here that is revolutionary. And if it doesn't seem like it now, well, it definitely will before the end of it. But I'm just so excited about it. And so the next question is, well, what will the Kickstarter do? Well, the reality is the Kickstarter does a lot. It establishes the company. It establishes our presence. Right now, I've been able to produce these on a one-off basis, basically making about one every day, one every other day. A successfully funded Kickstarter brings the whole production and merchandising to the forefront. It allows us to move into a small office complex where all of the operations can be taken care of, from manufacturing, design, and printing. It allows for the budget to be spent in developing additional models that go out, and allows for the community to be built. So basically, the Kickstarter is where Hamm Camera goes from sole proprietor to an LLC, to where we go from just me running all of this stuff to a larger entity. And with a properly funded Kickstarter, we would be able to not only increase production, but also continue to pioneer these techniques that allow me to get such great results on this 3D printing form. In fact, we've thought about injection molding plastics, and we've thought about all these other things, but the reality is I keep coming back to the charm of these designs. They're really awesome. And I think that's something that we would like to keep as an in-house secret, because we're able to get this type of texturing and things like that when other people can't. And that's part of what makes us special. Also, let's say the Kickstarter is unsuccessful. You know, that happens. We've got a contingent for that. And that's pretty simple. We've got a soft launch going on. So if the Kickstarter gets off launch, fine, great. But if it doesn't, Hamm Camera Company will still launch as the sole proprietorship with me at the helm, rather than the LLC. And that just means that we're doing them one-offs and maybe custom printing and things like that as we develop whatever was wrong with the Kickstarter and why it doesn't go forward. So we got a second plan in action, but I think we're going to be pretty excited. Look, we're talking with some big people in photography in order to get the word out there. And I don't want to say their names right yet because things are still in the work, but I'm just going to say right now that there are some very special people that will become part of the developers preview, or are part of the developers preview, that when it is said and done that we're going to launch this and let everybody know who we are, and we have our coming out to the world, and we actually open our website so that you can see it. It's just this big explosion, and that's what we're looking for. We want a lot of hype to go along with this, and we want it to correspond with our Kickstarter. Just so you know, late October is our Kickstarter with a 30-day project. That's what we're looking for. And production begins in November. We're going to have some early adopters. Right now, everything's being printed in production with me. So our pre-release stuff, there is going to be an opportunity for people that want cameras handmade by me in this room right here, to your specification, colors, and designs, to get those by Christmas. Those are going to be part of our very early adopter premium package. And it's going to come with some different films. That's going to be pretty cool. But those are all going to be made by me. And I can do about, I'm looking at it, but between November and a ship date of December 10th to get to you by Christmas on time, means I'm only going to be able to do, I think, 50, maybe 60 myself, made by me, for you. So those are going to come at a premium. They're going to be one of the special ones, but you're going to get one made by me. And then the rest of them will be funded for January through March delivery. And those will be done on a production. So that'll be after the Kickstarter is funded, and I have the time to set up the actual structure of the company so that we're ready to produce these on scale. And let me just explain that a little bit more so it doesn't sound too wordy. Sorry if it did. The reality is I can produce these in-house in about one a day right now on my own. So there's going to be an option on Kickstarter for those that want that kind of production directed by me. You'll be able to purchase that. That's important because I can do that now. However, those deliveries taking place in early December for you for a Christmas launch aren't because of any other reason than the ability to mass produce thousands of them at one time, which would require the money that Kickstarter would provide to be able to go to the infrastructure for that. So right now, I can do about 30, 40 in that time frame, maybe 50, get another machine, get them going, and really work hard. But for everyone else that chooses to maybe pick a different plan and doesn't want that early delivery, which would have a premium on it, then you'll be able to receive yours no later than March in 2018. And the reason the difference isn't because of the quality. It's because one's going to be handmade by me here, and I can only do so many at one time, and the other ones will be hand assembled and made after I've been able to build the infrastructure to support that through the Kickstarter. Okay, I'm going to move on from that. That should be pretty simple. Well, we're trying to make that Christmas deadline for the early adopters, and we've actually got the launch models, and these are going to be special edition launch models. All of them will say launch model on there, which is important, and we're going to have the black box, that's one of them, and then we're going to have the Generation 2, which is the Hamm B1. I don't know exactly what name we're going to use. We might just use the Gen 2, but for our traditional production release after the Kickstarter, these are all the launch models, so we'll continue on with that. And finally, if that wasn't crazy enough, where are we going? Okay, this is so important. See, this is not just a one-off, right? Because the designs for additional models are already in the works. So let me just let you know, the format that we're shooting on this camera is 120 film. That's what it starts with. How cool is that? We've got another camera that is working on about 30% smaller in 35mm format. That one may not even come with viewfinders because the idea of the box camera is so simple to just point and shoot. Everything's ready for you. And I can go into that later, but viewfinders or no viewfinders, I just like the idea of getting away from all of this composition and just taking a picture of what's there. The standard angle of the cameras, all of them are standard, slightly wider than standard, so pretty normal, not a wide angle, but equivalent to about a 45mm. So if you're looking at it, seeing it, and pointing in that direction, you're probably going to get what you want. The viewfinder definitely would be more helpful for that, and that's definitely going to be on the 35, or the 120. So that's all I'm going to say about that part. But I've also got an instant photography model going on, and that's really cool because I want to be able to bring that to the market as well. I think a square format camera with a box camera shooting a square format instant print with all the charm and character that is a box camera is cool. But see, developing for that platform is so much more expensive because of all the additional complexity. So that's going to be not this current model, which is the 120. It'll be, if the Kickstarter funds properly, then we'll have enough money to go through research and development and continue working with that. And I'm also looking, I'd love to find a partner for the square format Instax that's already part of this manufacturing, and maybe do some licensing or something, or do a collaboration and launch a product together. That would be great. So that's where we're going. And the way the community plays into it is the fact that, the black box edition, this little guy right here, just a standard black box, but how cool is it to have the ability to offer additional competitions for like how you decorate it. So you got the standard black box. They all come with the same cool optics in there. So either of the editions, you're really just paying for a trim level difference. The Gen 2 box right here, notice how it's got a different kind of distressing. I really like that with these, and I'm trying to make them look and feel like wood. We've even got some cedar scent going in some of these, so that they have that old-fashioned kind of smell. However, this is just one of the different colors, and let's go ahead and put this together for you. I promised you, let's do it. Let's go ahead and take our cartridge. Up front, I need another 120 roller. Here it is. Okay, I got my hands full, so let's do this. We take our cartridge, we kind of go ahead and we load our cartridge with the 120 spools. This is where you'd spool it all across pretty simply like that. The cartridge, don't forget these are modular, so we could use multiple different kinds of what's it called? Multiple different kinds of focal lengths and everything. And it loads in there just like that. Okay, now that that's in there nice and pretty, take that out for a second. We go ahead and grab our knobs, right? Our knobs go in. They just push in. That's the beauty of it. We talked about simplicity earlier, right? These are tension, pressure tension, and pretty simple right there. And then we take our front plate, put it on there, grab our back plate, and we just fit that on right there as well. And these are all snug fits. They're made to be pressure fits, but they also have a little bit of felt inside of them in order to give that photographer's felt. And then, yeah, there you go. Now you're looking at the camera, and how cool is that? Here's the back design and everything, and it's right there. Okay, now there are some things I'm not showing. People are going to blow this up and look at it in high res and try to figure out what I'm doing. I've had a couple people calling and asking a lot of questions. So what you're not seeing is the shutter block, and there's a real simple reason for it. I've got a special design on the shutter block, and my apertures. We are using the traditional modular kind of stick aperture, but it's nice that there's also a detent spring that's in here that allows us to place it in pretty nicely. And the other cool part is that as we work this right here, you'll have the ability to wind, but you also have the ability to maintain tension with the bottom one, or rewind, and you'll be able to look through the back just to see how that's just kind of cool. But this is what a Gen 2 box looks like. Look at the design on the back, design on the sides, and we're even thinking about some cool work right here. And a lot of these will have some customizable options. So if you wanted to say, to my best friend, or photography, or if you want a particular emblem or something like that, we'll be able to accommodate that as well. So there's a lot of stuff. Pricing is still up in the air, but I want to make this accessible. Originally I was thinking between $99 to $199 kind of price point. I think we're going to include the standard black box at a little bit less than $99 in order to make it a launch day special. And then there is going to be an additional option to have the ones rushed to you before Christmas. Those are the ones that I'll create just like this. I'll talk to you on the phone. We'll go over what you'd like. We'll talk about the design and then put that together. So a real customized job there for you. It's really crazy as we continue talking. I've taken up a lot of time, but I thought it was important to share with you what's going on with Hamm Camera Company and what is hashtag HammB1. That's not the official nomenclature, guys. The Hamm Cam is for the Hamm Camera Company. HammB1, you see on the front plate, is the code name of this camera. The launch design and the launch nomenclature will be released at a time that's later. So just so you know. And if anybody can figure out HammB1, what that stands for, let me know. That'd be cool because that could be a little Easter egg. I don't know. Could be something fun. Guys, I'm Robert Hamm. Today we've been talking about Hamm Camera Company. I hope you feel a lot more invested and understand what's going on. Please send your emails and your questions to me at rob@hammcamera.com. And I'll probably just forward all of those straight to Andre to get back to you. But as we're getting his email and everything set up, you can use mine for now. I want to thank you for watching and remind you that I will catch you on the flip side.